Welcome to the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
Hey guys, Josh Chin here. I'm the host of the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts and founders in the e-commerce industry and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by Chronos.agency. If you run a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand that is ready to scale and to double your customer lifetime value through lifecycle marketing, Chronos is your company. We've helped hundreds of brands scale profits with email, SMS, and mobile push while getting an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. We've worked with brands like the Truly Beauty, the Udi, For Chicks, and many more. And the next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency, or you can go to chronos.agency to learn more. And today's guest is someone really special. His name is Adam Turner. He's the co-founder and CEO at Postscript, a mobile messaging platform for e-commerce stores. They run a fully remote team of close to 200 people from all across North America. He's also an avid snowboarder, and all the brands and names that I've mentioned previously during the sponsor message happens to be Postscript customers as well. And at Chronos, we are a proud Postscript partner. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Josh. It is great to be here. Great to have you as a partner, of course, and excited to chat all things SMS, conversational commerce, remote, whatever you want to talk about. I'm here for it.
It's been a wild ride. I remember first meeting you at Boston, Clayville Boss, 2019. I believe it was like later in the year, and we were just talking before we hit record. Your team was back then like less than 20 people, and today you basically close to 10x. You're gonna close to 10x in headcount by end of the quarter, which is insane. That was like less than 2 years ago.
It's wild to think about. And when I think about us meeting as well and just that whole conference, I just remember like being in awe of everything that they were putting on and just like thinking, okay, like I guess we're faking it till we make it. We've got a few folks on the team. And now it is like a very real thing. And SMS is just like absolutely blowing up. We've got over 5,000 brands on Postscript today. And it's just become this crazy thing along these 2 years. You're right that it's 2 years is a short amount of time, but I do feel that it wasn't overdone, right? Like it's kind of rip your face off growth, but I feel good about where we are today and some of the things that we put in place to help us scale.
I love that, and you guys are a really customer-centric company. Just from a partner standpoint, you listen really well as a company, and I think that's really difficult to do, especially as you scale. Just from an outsider's point of view, what has been helpful in that process as you were scaling, in maintaining that the essence of what makes Postscript special?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a little bit of a couple different things. And the first thing that I would say is one, we've got like e-commerce in our blood, right? So before even starting Postscript, Alex Beller, who's my co-founder, Alex and I worked at a company called Commerce in Venice Beach. And we ran white labeled e-commerce stores for publishers. So if you think like the CNN store or the Mashable store, all these publishers would drive traffic to their e-commerce store, which essentially we were running. And that was kind of where I like cut my teeth on, more like native commerce or non-Amazon commerce and started learning more about that, running these brands. And really like understood what I consider like the e-commerce equation, right? You've got like traffic, you've got conversion rate, you've got LTV, you've got repeat purchase rate, all these different things. And that's kind of like where we built the foundation of our e-commerce before we started Postscript. So there's a little bit of that, right? There's a little bit of having it in our DNA as we started the company. But you're right. That's not something that you can scale as a founder, right? You can't just like
Yeah.
bring people on, especially remotely, and like teach them how e-commerce works. And
Yeah.
so early on, as we were talking with folks about joining the company, we found that the folks that even had even a little bit of experience on the e-commerce side, maybe the brand side, maybe the platform side, maybe the e-com tech side, um, it just helped a ton because they came to the conversation with like a perspective about
Mm.
how e-commerce should be done. And
Yeah.
in that way, adding more people to the company that had a little bit of that e-commerce DNA themselves, we were able to sort of craft this culture that definitely is customer focused, customer obsessed, because we love e-commerce, right? And we're just interested in like how the e-commerce brands are building their businesses, and we're there to like just bring the SMS perspective and what we know about these types of things to the conversation. And so we've got lots of employees who are running their own brands, even before they came to Postscript, and they still run them on the side. And so it's really
Mm.
interesting to have that type of person come to the company and
Yeah.
and bring that perspective.
What's your role at Postscript? You have three co-founders, you, Colin, and Alex, right?
Yeah, yeah. Me, Colin, and Alex. So this is what I would consider like a part of the special sauce, or like one of the special things about Postscript. So early in the days, like when we started, I was writing back-end code, Colin was writing front-end code, and Alex was there to help with like biz dev, sales, and all these different things. And since then, as we've scaled up, obviously we've had to grow and learn different things and kind of segment out those different parts of the business. And so where we've landed is that, and what I believe is that founders in general should try and pair up with people that have complementary skills and that have the least amount of overlapping skills, because that will help you just tackle more ground in the early stages, and that will define the ownership really well at the later stages. So where we've landed is that I focus on everything product, engineering, design, finance, and fundraising. And Alex's focuses on like all things go to market. So all things customer facing, basically. You've got, customer success, sales, partnerships, support, all that type of stuff Alex focuses on. And so in that way, like I'm not a CEO that I believe like has a bottleneck for every single decision to be made, right? Like Alex makes a lot of decisions that the buck stops with him. And then we also trust our teams to make a lot of those decisions. And so I find that helps with scaling. If you try and like hold on to every single decision, things are going to break. And so the more you can kind of divvy up those responsibilities, I think the easier it is to scale.
One of the most challenging aspects of scaling a remote team that I've personally found, we have a fully remote team as well, about 80 plus people.
There you go.
In different parts of the world. So the challenge there is kind of bridging different cultures and personalities towards the same core principles or core values that we live by. How do you keep up with the scale of growth while at the same time making sure that your core values don't, go behind the scenes and making sure that stays top of mind? Yeah,
that's a good question. Before I dive into that, I am curious, how many folks were you at when we started chatting? Because you've gone through this a very similar growth spurt, it feels like.
Yeah, it's we were at, when we met, I think we were closer to 40 people.
There you go.
Yeah.
Doubling, not yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd even be curious to hear your answers on this, because I'm bridging the culture gaps as well. I can't even imagine. And every time I'm on a call with some of your folks, it just seems seamless and amazing. So after this, I'll have to get you tipped. But
thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. But so how we've done it, like all things entrepreneurship, there's a lot of luck involved. And if you hire great people, you know, there's a lot of trust involved there. But there are some things, some processes that you can kind of put in place that we've seen work. And so first, when, pre-COVID and before we were, over 20 folks, we would onboard everybody in person. And so the founders would fly out and the founders would like onboard everyone. And that helped kind of like solidify just like the culture there. And so we did that till about 20 folks. And then when 2020 hit, first COVID hit, and then obviously the e-commerce boom during COVID was something just tremendous. And during that time, the company grew, or like the amount of customers we had grew like over 400%. And so what we had to do is we had to say, okay, the market is demanding massive growth of us. And we can't say, we're going to grow on our own terms. We're going to grow with a few people because we want to take care of our culture, right? We had to have like a leap of faith and say, to support all of our customers, we actually need to grow a lot more than we originally anticipated. We need to hire a lot more. So what is like the process that we put in place to make sure things don't break as we do that? And so what we've done is we've essentially tried to standardize a lot of the onboarding processes and documents and like onboarding meetings that we have for the first 2 weeks of everyone, because that creates like shared language. It indoctrinates them into the values, because the values are just a huge part of Postscript. Everybody knows them. A lot of companies try and talk about values, but we try and make sure that the values really help everyone be successful within their first 90 days and beyond. And so we see it as like a toolkit that we're teaching folks. And really like that involves, some meetings with the co-founders where I do kind of a CEO welcome. I talk about the history of the company. I talk about the values. I talk about, where we're going, the company vision, the product vision, all that type of stuff. And we've got multiple of those throughout the first few weeks. And I think that along with a great foundation of folks, that will help scale. And so I think that, again, we've gotten very, very lucky, and we've got a lot of great folks that do that. Another thing that we do is to filter ahead of time, right? So while you're interviewing, make sure that you are, we have an interview dedicated to the values explicitly. And so with that, we kind of have a rubric that everybody can go through that asks questions that map to the values. And so it's one of those things where you can hire someone and on day 30, they can do that same interview because they just have the rubric, they understand the values, and they're able to do it. And so that's something that scales pretty well and can help make sure that you're doing that. One thing you want to avoid there, obviously, is creating like a culture that reinforces the wrong values or that like hires the same type of people. And so that's where you make the rubric very explicit in like what you're trying to measure, in that you don't want to have a culture that's like all the same people, because you want diversity of thought and diversity of like people in general. So it's a delicate balance, but it's a constant iteration for us.
That's really interesting. So you started out just doing things that did not scale all that well. With you flying out to meeting people all the way up to employee number 25, that's insane. And then you moved on to just standardizing the process and making sure that people understood what you were looking for and trying to convey that throughout the hiring process. Adam, you talk about luck a lot, but I think that's just one part of the puzzle. I too believe in luck. I think a huge part of success comes down to luck. But beyond that, it's luck is just opportunity meeting preparedness, I think.
Sure.
So how do you prepare for a lucky break?
Man, that is a great question. That's something that it's one of those things that to even understand that you have a lucky break, I think that it takes a lot of mindfulness. Like, I think that if you just grind out things day to day and you have like a plan and you have a machine and you're just like doing things, I think that you're less likely to see an opportunity that comes your way. And so I think it's the combination of like mindfulness and curiosity that will help identify the opportunities. And so, if we go up to the very early days, even when we were starting Postscript, my brother and I were just like building a lot of things because we were curious and we liked building things. And then the SMS idea kind of came our way through a friend of mine. And then we just tried it out because we were like curious about what it might look like. And so I think that if you have that curiosity where you hear an idea and you just want to know more without any specific thing, you're not actually like chasing money or chasing status or any of that. You're just like, I wonder how this works, right? Like, how does this work? How might I do this? I think then, and that's tough to do as you scale, but I think that you can also filter for curiosity pretty well. But I think that that's one of those things where that'll help you understand that you have an opportunity on your hands and help you execute against it.
Mindfulness and curiosity. I like that. Let's dive into SMS marketing a little bit. I'd love to hear about your thoughts and your philosophy in SMS marketing and e-commerce, especially with the past 1 year. It's been insane. E-commerce has grown tremendously. What's your philosophy around conversational marketing and SMS?
Yeah, that's another good question. So generally, like, I'll start with what we've seen in the market, and then go into our philosophy. Because you're right, in the last year,
Sure.
especially, like, it's become a very hot topic. It's booming. I think that people have gone from the kind of like, will this bother my customers gap to, okay, I feel that I might need to do this. How do I get started? And now there's a lot more people talking about SMS and a lot more adoption in general. And I think that the easiest default thing to do is say that SMS is like email in terms of the strategy involved, right? In terms of, okay, we're doing some list building that's similar to email, and then we're doing some campaign sending, and it's making us a lot of money. And I think that that's absolutely great. I think that I see merchants making a lot of money on that on a lot of different platforms every single day. And the value being created over the last year alone, because merchants are able to talk with their customers in a new channel, that alone is just absolutely fantastic. When it comes to like how we see SMS and actually what we're building towards, you kind of mentioned it, but the whole conversational aspect, the whole conversational commerce vision that we have has come out of just the native experience of SMS, right? If your friend texts you, if you never ever reply, there's going to be some like tension in that relationship, maybe, and that's not going to be like great. And so, if brands continue to text you and you never reply, or like replying is just natural for people to do, right? Replying is just natural for people to do when they get a text. And if brands aren't thinking about that action reaction relationship when they are sending SMS, then they might be losing out on like a terrific amount of great interactions with their customers. And in general, I see brands using SMS as like purely a marketing channel because it's making them a ton of money. But really what Postscript is building all of the customer experience over the single channel, which is SMS, right? And so how we think about this is we see where things have gone in like a lot of other countries, right? So if you think about WhatsApp in like many other countries, you might even see people have like a WhatsApp number instead of even a website, right? Like they just like skip the website, they go straight to messaging. And the reason for that is because it's frictionless. They develop a relationship with their customer and they do everything through there, right? They're setting appointments, they're making purchases, they're doing post-purchase follow-ups, all of that type of stuff. And that is like what consumers want. That's like a fantastic way to do things, right? And while I think that like promotions and one-way text messaging right now is doing a lot, I feel that there's a lot being missed out on that full service experience through the channel, right? And so that means like nurturing customers as they come in, nurturing subscribers, and teaching them about your brand, and conversing with them when they have questions about your brand, and making sure that like all of your automations are turned on for shipping notifications, or like post-purchase offers, or collecting product reviews through SMS. I think that you have to look at every single stage of the customer lifecycle, and you have to account for that in your SMS strategy. And I think that is where things are headed in general, right? I think that as I'm not naive in SMS, right? As channels mature, there tends to be a little bit more noise and potentially a little bit less ROI. And I think that the next big ROI jump is in servicing the entire customer journey instead of just a few parts of that. And so when we think about conversational commerce, we think about those types of things. Good example is earlier in the year, we unveiled Postscript Pay, which is a product that lets people purchase through SMS, right? And so not only can you send to them now, but they can reply back and they can make a purchase through that same thread, right? And so that does a few things. That creates that action-reaction relationship where people can reply and have something happen on the back end, right? But what it also does is it takes away steps in the funnel, right? And so if there's anything I know about e-commerce is if you remove steps in the funnel, right, you increase conversion rate, right? Single page checkouts do this, all this type of stuff. And so when we think about different things to build on Postscript, we're looking at that e-commerce equation that I talked about before, and we're saying, what can we do? Can we increase traffic? Can we increase conversion rate? Can we increase repeat purchase rate by like having a great integration with Recharge, right? And so we think about all these different things and how they affect the customer lifecycle and really try and build to them.
I love that. And so at the end of the day, it sounds like the entire kind of industry as a whole is shifting towards user experience and end customer experience versus just what marketing channel is highest in ROI or most effective. We're seeing that with the whole iOS shift as well. Right. User experience, users come first above all else. I'm curious about benchmarks. You talked about kind of ROI normalizing towards some kind of a lower norm as channels mature. But at this point in time, as we speak towards the end of 2021, what's a good benchmark that brands can expect from using a platform like Postscript?
Yeah, so in general, we see like across all of our brands, and there's a pretty wide distribution here. We're seeing 25x ROI on average, right? And yes, the channel ROI decreases over time, but actually what we see is that certain Postscript customers are making like over 100x ROI, like over 100x ROI. And where that ROI is coming from is like the increased personalization in the messages that they're delivering, right? And the best example that I like to use is, yes, you can install Postscript and in one click, you can like turn on an abandoned cart that's going to make you a lot of money, right? But what if you split that abandoned cart and you said, okay, I'm going to have two different segments of customers. One's going to be VIPs, people who have purchased more than 3 products, and the other is going to be people who have never purchased before. And if you just think of those two different types of folks, if you send them both the same message, one person is going to be very confused, right? One person's going to be like, what do you mean I'm a VIP? I've never bought from you. And the other is going to feel really special if they're the VIP and you get acknowledged for that. One of our brands, Woolix, the other day, sent me a text, and I'm not going to say how many orders I've made for them because it's embarrassing, but they sent me a text and they're like, Adam, you're like one of our best VIPs. Like, here you go. Here's early access. And I felt so special. I felt so special. And so the brands that we see taking the time to change their automations, to create segments of their audiences, to make sure that the copy is right for each segment of the audience, we see their ROI skyrocket. And that's why I'm so excited about the opportunity, because if we can do this at scale for our brands, for over 5,000 brands, if we can help them personalize and segment and automate, then that 25x ROI, I believe, could even increase across the board. And so that's something that I think about a lot is how do we make it easier for brands to do that type of action, to create that special experience for their customers?
I think personalization at scale is probably one of the most pivotal I guess functions of using marketing automation platforms, MarTech platforms in general, moving into the new year, I believe. What are some of the most creative use cases of Postscript that you've seen personally?
Yeah, so one of my favorites is a customer of ours, Olipop, and they make a healthy soda for folks. And one of the things that they did is they were trying to figure out which flavor they should make next, right? And this is one of those things where like you could send an email, but it's not kind of natural for it. But what they did is they sent out a text and they were like, okay, do you want, I'm not exactly sure, it was like orange and grape or something like that, right? And they were like, reply orange if you want orange, or reply grape if you want grape. And so they're using like the two-way interaction. They're using both of that. They're having people vote on the next flavor. So they're like, as a company, it's valuable to them because one, they're getting all of that customer feedback. And two, there's actually like purchases that come out of that. They've now built a list of the people who want to be involved in like the beta for the new flavor or anything like that. And that is one of those things that's just like so special and so native to the channel. Like just being able to reply and vote on the next flavor that you love, like so cool. Yeah. So very cool. So that's one of my favorites. And I think that there's a lot of different use cases for this. And I think that not just that, but like replying for anything, like I think that that's what's special about the channel. And I'm excited to see how brands kind of lean into that as SMS becomes a core strategy for them and as they get creative with it.
Could that also be used as a top of funnel entry point to getting to know a brand as well? For instance, texting a phrase to a brand to initiate a relationship between like a certain type of pens, or text your I don't know, belt size to receive a free belt, kind of a thing, and that initiates a relationship from kind of top of funnel, and that could also potentially be a potential paid ads funnel if done correctly.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, see, you already have the gears turning, right? It's like, what
Yeah.
can we do with this? It's incredible. Like, can we do, like a choose your own adventure, like welcome series,
Yes.
right? That sort of
Yeah.
thing. Or like all of this is also, people talk a lot about in e-commerce, first party data. Talk about like
Mm.
a rich source for first party data.
Oh, yeah.
Just gold mine right there. Yeah.
It's a gold mine. What do you think is the future of SMS? And also on the parallel, what's the future of Postscript in the next 5-10 years?
5-10 years. Okay, here we go.
Or maybe two.
Yeah.
Depending on how far. I mean, yeah, the industry is changing so rapidly. We don't even know what the next year is going to look like.
Yeah, it changes very rapidly. And when I think about Postscript in 2+, 3+, 5+ years, what I try and envision is the experience that the consumer will have on their phone, right? Like, what do they actually want, right? Because some of what's special, or a lot of what's special about like Shopify and e-commerce and all this type of stuff, is that you're building an owned relationship with your customer, right? Like, you get to know who's buying from you, you get to have their phone number, you get to develop this relationship. And so I think about what's going to make that relationship the best, what's going to make the customer the most happy. And I believe that is first a platform that sends like the right message to the right person at the right time, right? We're talking personalization, first party data, segmenting, automating, all of that type of stuff. But then the next part of it is allowing the customer to do whatever they want to do next after that, right? And so what you can see inside Postscript are kind of glints to that. And we're about to kind of go all in on that. And what I mean there is you see different things like our integration with Akendo, which is a great product review platform. And what Akendo does is they use Postscript to send out requests to write product reviews, right? This is something they typically do over email. But with Postscript, they plug into a thread that is already established with the customer. And the customer already knows that the brand is talking with them. And so what that results in is like over a 20% lift in reviews collected for that brand. And so, so we're seeing that as more e-commerce tech kind of plugs into Postscript, it's like this rising tide that is lifting all boats, both for the consumer, because they can do everything. They can write a review, they can make a return eventually, right? They can purchase the text. There's more value being delivered to the channel and in that thread, which decreases unsubscribes, which increases LTV, right? You're giving value to the customer, and thus you're increasing all these core metrics for the brand, right? And so I believe that in the future, you'll see basically a text thread that allows you to do anything. It's smart. It's got NLP in it, right? So you can say, I want to buy that, the new dress that you have. And we know like what the new dress is for that store and that type of thing, right? And I think that it's going to be a combination of everything where for example, in order to do NLP correctly, you have to understand context really well. You can't just have an AI engine that can answer any question. You need to understand
NLP stands for natural language processing, right?
Yes, natural language processing, right? So this is something that we already do inside Postscript. A good example is fuzzy opt-outs, right? So when someone texts, "Don't text me," that's not like a compliant opt-out, but we see that as an opt-out, right? And so we've trained models to understand when someone doesn't want to be texted anymore. And so that's one example of like NLP inside Postscript. And as we build out these different models, I believe that you'll see just a more robust feature set delivered to the end customer, which increases all of those great metrics that I've talked about before. But I think that type of experience is what you'll see in the SMS thread. And also, I think you'll see it in a lot of like other messaging threads as those those open up a little bit more.
What are some of your personal favorite brands that does SMS right?
Oh man, I'd say Olipop, absolutely, right? Ugly Water, which I'm drinking right now, I am just like one of a fan of. Like, I just love their product, but I think they're doing SMS great. And another product that I love is Muddy Bites, which are, if you had like a sundae ice cream cone from the store before, like the bottom part of it is just chocolate. The bottom part of the cone is just chocolate.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like a bag of those. So yeah, and so those are one of my favorites. We have something really fun at Postscript, which is like a customer stipend. And so every single employee at Postscript gets a certain amount of money each month to spend with our customers, because we want them to go through the e-commerce experience, see how they're doing SMS, just like, and enjoy their products. We want to support our customers. And so that's something fun that we've always done. And it's so cool. We have so much just internal UGC of people like doing reviews of customer products, and like, it's just a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so cool. So every Postscript employee gets a bit of a stipend every single month to just buy products from your customers?
Yeah, to just buy products from our customers. Yeah.
That is so smart. That's amazing. Has there ever been like a situation where someone goes like, hey, actually this process, this experience could have been better for me, and as a result of that create some kind of a feedback or value to that end customer, that brand that you're working with? Has there ever been a case like that?
Where we're giving feedback to the brand?
Yeah,
or
because you're going through the shopping experience as well.
Oh, yeah. This type of thing happens all the time, and we consider ourselves techsperts. That's what we call ourselves. We're techsperts, right? Yeah. And since SMS is a new channel in general, I think that there's a lot that we can do there, and because we have visibility over all these brands, we're going through these flows. I think that that's results in like a lot of kind of a semi-consultative approach when customers have questions for us. We might say, hey, I got your abandoned cart. I might tweak it this way, that sort of thing. And so, a lot of that comes out of it, and a lot of great food and great drink and everything there too. Sheets, Brooklyn and sheets, right? Yeah.
Adam, what's your best advice for companies and brands scaling remote teams? I think that's a big theme for last year and this year and beyond.
Yeah.
What have you learned, and what's the number one advice that you give someone like me?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that like you're doing it right in that my advice is like lean in, right? Like I think that some of this transition caught a lot of people off guard. And I think that the people leaned in and said, we're going to really do remote, and here are like rules for it. And like, we're going to actually make this fun. I think that those people, no matter what company, inside e-commerce, outside of e-commerce, I think that the companies and folks that leaned in, I think that they got the most value out of it. And so what happens when you lean in is you realize that it's an entirely different way of working, right? Like you are missing out on a few core things, and you're getting a lot of core things, right? Some things that I think that you get that go very underrated are like the micro interactions that people now have with their families and loved ones as they're like getting 5 minutes in between meetings or whatever it may be, those types of interactions. I think you're getting that. And I think that like that feeds the soul and that helps the culture. Absolutely. I think that what you're missing out is a lot of that human interaction. And I think that you have to make up for that. And so some of the ways that I make up for that personally, and I think a lot of people at Postscript have leaned into, are like Loom. Loom is a fantastic product. Recording videos, quick 1-minute videos to send to someone. It's just like pulling them aside, except you're not pulling them aside. They can watch it on their own time. And it's very personalized. It's me. I'm right here. Like, this is what I'm saying. It avoids that whole problem of like slacking someone and they don't understand the tone and all that type of stuff. Like it just gets rid of that. And another thing that we do is we're making sure that people are able to and have the opportunity to see each other in the cities that they're in. So we kind of have critical mass in a lot of different cities: Boston, New York, Austin, Los Angeles. we're giving people the opportunity to like meet up there. And then also we're saying, if you as a small team want to meet up somewhere and everybody feels comfortable, let's do that too, because you still need to pay down that debt, that human debt. I didn't go fully remote, and I don't think that people can just function without human interaction, right? And so you have to make sure that you're always keeping that in mind as you're running a remote company. It's great, but you still have to pay down that debt.
That makes sense. Adam, this has been great. What is the best way to get in touch with you, connect with you, and hear more of what you have to say?
If you are in e-commerce, probably just like email me. I'm Adam@postscript.io. That's probably the best. If you're a customer, if you're not a customer, would love direct feedback for Postscript. We're always trying to grow. We're always trying to listen. And that feedback goes directly to our team, our engineers, our product folks. We'd love to hear more from our customers. So I'll use that as a CTA. That's probably the best way. Check me out on LinkedIn. That's where I post some content about different remote type stuff as well. And also we are hiring a lot. Check out our jobs board if you are interested in any of our jobs.
And just a quick shout out here. The people that we've been working with at Postscript has been incredible. Incredible talent, people who are really kind, really amazing, very, very smart people. So if you're looking for a career in e-commerce, definitely go check that out.
Thank you, Josh.
And go to Postscript.io as well. Incredible platform. If you need help or if you have questions around setting up Postscript right from the get-go, come to us, chronos.agency. Be happy to chat as well. And this has been incredible, Adam. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Josh.
Thanks for listening to the E-commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.